Have you ever wondered why your creatinine keeps creeping up? Even though you're trying your best to eat healthy and take care of yourself, I'm Dr. Johnny. And before we go any further, you need to hear this: for millions of people, over 50 kidney damage doesn't come with a warning siren. It comes quietly, silently, and dangerously through everyday foods that look harmless, taste harmless, and are even sold as healthy, yet push your kidneys closer to exhaustion every single day without you feeling a thing. And here's the part most people never learn until it's too late. By the time symptoms finally show up: fatigue that won't go away, swelling in your legs, shortness of breath. Your kidneys may have already lost up to 70% of their function. That's why what I'm about to tell you is not just helpful, it's urgent. Because the real danger isn't what you avoid on purpose. It's what you're eating right now without realizing the damage it's causing. But the good news is just as powerful. Once you understand the hidden triggers behind rising creatinine, you can stop the damage, reverse the pressure on your kidneys, and start healing, often within weeks, not months. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you today. I'll reveal the everyday foods quietly driving your creatinine higher, the unexpected items that overload your kidneys without warning, and the surprising kidney protective foods that act like a shield, giving your kidneys the relief they've been begging for. But before we dive into the first hidden danger, stay with me. For one reason, the final food on this list is something almost every American over 50 eats, believing it's good for them, when in reality it's one of the fastest ways to push your kidneys toward long-term damage. And hardly anyone is talking about it. And the only way to protect yourself is to understand how these foods work inside your body. Because once you truly see what they're doing behind the scenes, your relationship with food, with your health, and with your future will change completely. When we talk about the foods that quietly push creatinine higher, most people imagine something obviously unhealthy: fast food, red meat, sugary snacks. But the truth is far more unsettling, because one of the most common kidney stressors hides behind a healthy label. I'm talking about dried fruits. Those tiny bites of sweetness that look so innocent on the outside, yet behave like a creatinine-spiking bomb once they enter your body. And I'll be honest, many of my patients were shocked when they learned this, because they truly believed they were making a smart choice. Let me tell you about Mary, one of my longtime patients, 62 years old, active, health conscious, always choosing the right foods. She came into my clinic frustrated, asking why her creatinine kept rising, even though she had cut out soda-reduced red meat and walked a mile every morning. But in her bag, I noticed a familiar snack, a mix of raisins, dried apricots, and cranberries. She told me, "Doctor, it's just fruit. How bad can it be?" The truth shocked her, because dried fruit isn't dangerous because it's fruit. It's dangerous because it's concentrated fruit. When water is removed, everything else becomes intensified, especially potassium. A small handful of raisins can contain more potassium than a full banana, and dried apricots can reach levels that overwhelm kidneys already struggling to filter. According to the National Institutes of Health, individuals with declining kidney function must strictly limit concentrated potassium sources, because the kidneys simply cannot remove the excess fast enough. And when potassium builds up, it doesn't just stress the kidneys. It can disrupt heart rhythm, raise blood pressure, and accelerate kidney decline in ways most people never feel until the damage is already underway. But potassium isn't the only problem. Many commercial dried fruits contain added sugar and sulfur-based preservatives. This combination creates rapid blood sugar spikes, inflammation, and oxidative stress, all major drivers of creatinine elevation. It's like giving your kidneys extra work at the exact moment they need rest. And the scariest part, because dried fruit is small and chewy, people eat far more than they realize. A quarter cup on the label becomes a full cup in real life, and suddenly the kidneys are hit with double or triple the mineral load they can safely handle. So what should you do instead? Fresh fruit, especially low potassium options like strawberries, blueberries, grapes, apples, and pears, gives you natural sweetness without creating a mineral tsunami inside your kidneys. And if you're craving that chewy texture, freeze-dried fruit can satisfy the urge without delivering the same heavy punch, because it's lighter by volume and harder to overeat. Your kidneys feel the difference immediately, because you're giving them hydration and fiber, not a potassium overload disguised as a snack. But understanding dried fruit is only the beginning, because some of the most dangerous kidney stressors look even healthier on the surface. And knowing this first hidden danger is important, but not enough, because what comes next is a food almost everyone believes is clean, yet it silently pushes creatinine up even faster. And most Americans have no idea they're eating it daily. What makes the situation even more troubling is that dried fruit isn't the only healthy snack quietly raising creatinine. In fact, one of the biggest offenders hides in almost every American pantry, wrapped in earth-tone packaging and marketed as natural, clean, and heart-friendly. I'm talking about granola. Yes, the same crunchy blend of oats, nuts, and good energy that so many people trust as a smart breakfast or snack. Yet for kidneys under pressure, granola can be a silent disaster waiting to happen. Let me share the story of Andrew, a 58-year-old truck driver who came to me confused about his rising creatinine. He didn't smoke, rarely drank, and proudly told me he had replaced sugary cereals with granola months earlier. He believed he had made a meaningful upgrade. But when we looked at his eating habits closely, something stood out. Every morning began with a bowl of granola, and every afternoon ended with a granola bar during long drives. "Doctor, it's just oats and nuts," he said. "Isn't that supposed to be healthy?" He had no idea that for someone with early kidney stress, granola's nutritional profile becomes a serious burden. Here's why. Granola is dense, far denser than people realize. A half-cup serving can contain 150 to 200 milligrams of phosphorus and 300 to 400 milligrams of potassium, largely because of added nuts, seeds, and sweeteners. And the real issue, almost no one eats just half a cup. Most people, like Andrew, pour a bowl that's 2 to 3 times the listed serving, meaning the kidneys suddenly face a mineral overload that forces them to work harder at the exact moment they should be resting. Clinical data from the American Society of Nephrology confirms that excessive phosphorus intake accelerates kidney decline by triggering hormonal imbalances that pull calcium from the bones and deposit it into soft tissues, including the kidneys themselves. In simpler terms, too much phosphorus doesn't just strain the filters, it damages them. And granola, especially store-bought versions with artificial sweeteners, syrups, and healthy dried fruits mixed in, becomes a double or even triple strike against kidney function. But here's the part that surprises most people: homemade granola isn't automatically safe either. Even small amounts of almonds, cashews, pumpkin seeds, and high-sugar binders can push potassium and phosphorus levels upward. And because granola tastes comforting and familiar, people tend to eat it absent-mindedly, not realizing that each handful is another wave of stress crashing onto the kidneys. So what's the better option? A simple bowl of old-fashioned oats cooked with water delivers less than half the phosphorus of granola and considerably lower potassium, while still giving you long-lasting energy without overwhelming your kidneys. Topping your oatmeal with blueberries or strawberries adds antioxidants without the hidden mineral load, and a sprinkle of cinnamon boosts flavor without adding any extra stress. If you still crave crunch, a small amount of toasted coconut flakes can give you that satisfying texture without the phosphorus punch found in nuts and seeds. Granola isn't evil, but it becomes risky when you're trying to control creatinine, especially if your kidneys are already working harder than they should. And the reason this matters so much is because many people like Andrew truly believe they're doing everything right, yet unknowingly sabotage their progress with foods that look healthy but act like silent saboteurs inside the body. But knowing this still isn't enough, because what comes next is even more dangerous. An everyday ingredient used in kitchens across America that seems harmless at first glance, yet it can spike blood sugar, raise blood pressure, and push creatinine higher faster than granola ever could. And almost no one realizes the damage until it's already done. And this is where things take a sharper turn, because if granola surprised you, the next hidden danger is even more deceptive, mainly because it doesn't come in a shiny package or a colorful nutrition label. It comes from your own kitchen. The ingredient is balsamic glaze and other reduced sauces, those thick, glossy drizzles that make vegetables taste sweeter and salads look gourmet. They appear harmless, even elegant, but for your kidneys, they can be a silent ambush disguised as flavor. I remember a patient named Robert, 65 years old, who told me proudly that he had switched from creamy dressings to healthier options like balsamic drizzle. He believed he was doing everything right, eating more, greens, cutting red meat, walking every day. Yet his creatinine continued to creep upward, and he couldn't understand why. One day he brought in his food log, and right there, circled 3 times in a week, was the same thing: roasted vegetables topped with balsamic glaze. When I asked him how much he used, he shrugged and said, "Just a couple of tablespoons." But those 2 tablespoons told the whole story. Here's the truth. Balsamic glaze is not the same as balsamic vinegar. When you reduce vinegar until it becomes thick and syrupy, the natural sugars inside become concentrated. And many store-bought versions add even more sugar, sometimes up to 12 grams per serving, turning what should be a simple condiment into a kidney-stressing sweetener. High sugar intake leads to blood sugar spikes, which trigger inflammation and oxidative stress inside the kidneys, weakening the tiny filters responsible for clearing creatinine. According to research published in the National Kidney Foundation journal, repeated glucose spikes accelerate kidney aging and heighten creatinine levels even in adults without diabetes. But sugar isn't the only threat lurking in these glazes. Many brands also contain high sodium added starches and preservatives to maintain thickness and shelf stability. Sodium raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure is one of the fastest pathways to kidney damage. It's a combination that slowly chips away at kidney function. Sugar inflames, sodium constricts, and the glaze disguises itself as healthy all along. And because the serving size looks small, people use it generously on salads, vegetables, chicken, fish, unknowingly adding a dangerous load day after day. The good news is that alternatives exist, and they taste just as good without putting your kidneys under pressure. A simple splash of regular balsamic vinegar provides acidity without the sugar punch. Lemon juice brightens flavor without adding sodium. Fresh herbs like basil, parsley, and cilantro can elevate a dish far more than glaze ever could. And if you truly love that thick consistency, you can make a safer version at home by reducing plain balsamic vinegar without adding sugar. You get the texture you crave without the hidden trap. This is why I always tell my patients the most dangerous foods are not the obvious villains. They're the everyday choices we assume are harmless. And if balsamic glaze can hide this much damage behind a beautiful shine, imagine what other healthy foods might be silently pushing your creatinine higher without you noticing. But knowing this still isn't enough, because the next hidden danger is something millions of Americans drink every week, believing it's cleansing their body, when in reality it may be flooding the kidneys with far more potassium and sodium than they can safely handle. And the truth behind it shocks almost everyone the first time they hear it. And as surprising as balsamic glaze may be, there's an even more deceptive threat, because this next one doesn't come from your plate, it comes from your glass. Millions of Americans drink it believing it's cleansing, detoxifying, or good for digestion. Yet for anyone concerned about creatinine, this so-called healthy choice can be one of the fastest ways to overload the kidneys. I'm talking about vegetable juice, especially tomato juice, and mixed vegetable drinks that promise nutrition but deliver a very different reality inside the kidneys. Take Daniel, a 71-year-old retired teacher and one of my most disciplined patients. Every morning he drank an 8-ounce glass of tomato juice, convinced it was the smartest way to start his day. He told me, "Doctor, I thought I was helping my body." Yet month after month, his creatinine climbed higher. His diet was clean, his exercise routine steady, his hydration on point. So why were his kidneys still struggling? The moment we reviewed his morning habit, the answer became painfully clear. A single glass of vegetable juice, especially tomato-based, can contain up to 900 milligrams of potassium and 600 milligrams of sodium. That's more potassium than many people can safely process with reduced kidney function, and more sodium than an entire meal should contain. And unlike whole vegetables, which come packaged with fiber to slow absorption, juice delivers everything in one rapid hit. Within minutes, potassium and sodium surge into the bloodstream, and the kidneys must scramble to stabilize levels they were never meant to handle so quickly. According to findings published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition, rapid spikes in potassium place immediate stress on the nephrons, the microscopic filters responsible for clearing creatinine, leading to inflammation, reduced filtration efficiency, and long-term decline in kidney function. But the real danger isn't just in the numbers, it's in the psychology. People don't treat juice as food, they treat it as something extra, a bonus, a healthy boost. So after drinking 8 ounces of liquid potassium, they still eat a full meal with potatoes, beans, tomatoes, or greens, unintentionally doubling or tripling their mineral load before lunch. Every day, the kidneys are hit with more than they can safely filter, and the damage accumulates so quietly that most people never notice until fatigue, swelling, or lab results force their attention. The solution, fortunately, is simple and far safer. If you want hydration, drink water. Even slight dehydration increases creatinine concentration. If you want flavor, use cucumber slices, lemon mint, or ginger to infuse your water naturally. And if you truly crave something refreshing, herbal teas like peppermint chamomile or rooibos give you flavor without smothering your kidneys in potassium and sodium. For those who insist on a vegetable drink, a low-potassium smoothie made with cucumber, lettuce, and berries, keeping the fiber intact, offers nutrients without overwhelming the kidneys. What matters most is recognizing that healthy is not the same for everyone, and what helps one person may silently harm another. Kidney health requires a different lens, a different awareness, and a willingness to question habits that have been marketed as harmless for decades. But knowing this still isn't enough, because what comes next is even more dangerous. In everyday food, almost every household relies on one that seems gentle and comforting. Yet for kidneys under strain, it can either become a hidden enemy or an unexpected protector, depending on how you use it. And the difference between the two may shock you. And as alarming as vegetable juice can be, the greatest kidney threat is not in a single glass or a drizzle over your vegetables. It is woven into the modern American diet itself. This danger doesn't whisper, it surrounds. It hides in everyday meals, in the convenience foods we trust, in the labels we've stopped reading, and in the flavors engineered to make us forget just how unnatural they really are. I'm talking about processed foods, the quiet, relentless triad of excess sodium, added sugar, and phosphate additives that chip away at kidney function meal after meal, year after year, often without a single symptom until the damage is already deep. Let me tell you about George, a 69-year-old retired postman who always believed he ate moderately healthy. He avoided fast food, rarely touched soda, and cooked most of his meals at home. But his pantry was filled with canned soups, deli meat flavored, rice packs, microwave dinners, and a few light snacks he enjoyed in the afternoon. And despite all his efforts, his creatinine continued to rise. When we broke down his meals together, the truth unfolded in a way that stunned him. "I didn't know," he whispered. "How was I supposed to know?" And that is the heartbreaking reality. No one warns you that the most dangerous kidney toxins are disguised as everyday groceries. Because here's what the numbers reveal. Processed foods account for over 70% of the sodium Americans consume. The average adult takes in more than 400 milligrams of sodium every day, far beyond what aging kidneys can comfortably handle. Sodium stiffens blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and triggers microscopic damage to the glomeruli, the very filters responsible for clearing creatinine from your bloodstream. Once these filters scar, they don't heal, they only decline. But sodium is only one weapon. Added sugars hiding in sauces, breads, granola bars, flavored yogurts, and snack foods create repeated blood sugar spikes that inflame kidney tissue and accelerate functional loss. Studies from the CDC show adults who consume sugary beverages or high-sugar processed foods daily have a 20–30% higher risk of chronic kidney disease, even if they aren't diabetic. Sugar doesn't just sweeten, it inflames, it stresses, it erodes. And then there's the one ingredient almost no one sees: phosphate additives. These are the chemicals that make processed foods taste richer, last longer, and hold their texture. But inside the body, phosphate additives are absorbed at nearly 100% efficiency, creating a mineral overload that aging kidneys cannot escape. Research from Johns Hopkins University links high phosphate intake to accelerated kidney decline, vascular calcification, and up to a 25% increase in kidney failure risk. These additives hide under names like sodium, phosphate, potassium, phosphate, phosphoric acid, and they appear everywhere. Deli meats, processed cheeses, packaged breads, sodas, frozen meals, fast food chicken, even some bottled drinks. The real danger. These foods don't feel dangerous. They feel easy. They feel normal. And in a world where everyone is busy, processed foods slip into the routine like an uninvited guest who never leaves. But the kidneys feel every bite, every gram of sodium, every surge of sugar, every molecule of phosphate. And over time, the burden becomes too heavy. But the moment you understand this trap, you gain the power to escape it. Cooking at home. Even simple meals cut sodium and phosphate exposure dramatically. Choosing fresh proteins over deli slices, whole fruits over packaged snacks, unsweetened yogurt over flavored versions, and water over soda gives your kidneys the break they've been begging for. And when the kidneys get a break, creatinine begins to stabilize, and sometimes even fall. Because kidney health is not just about what you stop eating, it's about becoming aware of what you never realized was hurting you. But knowing this still isn't enough, because the final truth about kidney health may be the most important message of all, one that could determine whether your kidneys continue to decline or begin to heal in ways you may not believe are possible. You've made it all the way to the end, and that tells me something important about you. You're not just listening, you're taking your health seriously. And I want you to know that effort matters. Every small change you make today becomes protection for your kidneys tomorrow. You don't need perfection, you just need consistency, awareness, and a willingness to choose the foods that support your body rather than strain it. If what you learned today opened your eyes or helped you understand your kidneys in a new way, please save this video so you can come back to it whenever you need a reminder. And make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I share new medical insights every week. Simple, practical, science-based guidance to help you protect your kidneys and strengthen your health as you age. I don't want you to miss anything that could make a real difference in your life. And here's the truth I want you to hold on to: kidney function can improve. Numbers can stabilize. Inflammation can calm. Energy can return. You are not stuck with the path your lab results seem to predict. Your body is capable of healing when you give it the right environment, and you're already taking the first steps just by educating yourself. So keep going. Keep choosing foods that nourish, habits that protect, and information that empowers you. Your kidneys have carried you for decades, and now you have the chance to give something back. Take care of yourself, stay proactive, and remember, your kidneys are counting on you, but they're also cheering for every decision you make. I'll see you in the next video.